Hey guys, Scott from scottsweb.dev here. Today I'm going to show you how to lazy load an interactive element using Intersection Observer. And what Intersection Observer does is it detects when an element basically comes in the viewport so that it doesn't load that element until the visitor is ready to see it. This way, if you have like maps or YouTube videos or other interactive elements down low on the page, they won't get loaded until the user actually gets to them. This is going to help your page speed score as well because it's just not loading it because it's not needed until the user gets to it. I went ahead and set up a page here. It's just a very long page. I just have text so you can scroll down, and we're going to put a map element at the bottom. So this will work with other elements besides maps as well. I just chose a map for this example. So what we're going to do is go get a map from Google. I chose Orlando, Florida. We click on share, embed a map, and copy this code. We'll put that in our HTML file. I already have a div class equals map here. So we'll paste that HTML. We're going to want to change the source to data source because the source is what makes it load. So if we change it to data source, we still have that information, but it's not loading. I do want to point out that since it's not loading, we should create a placeholder style for it. So here, I'm just going to give it a gray background. Iframe, background color. All right. And if we load our page, we'll see that we have the placeholder element, but our map has not loaded. So this is where Intersection Observer comes in. We want to write some code to tell it that once it's in the viewport, go ahead and switch out that data source for the source. So let's go back to our code here and add a script tag. We are going to want to do this when the DOM content is loaded. So we'll do document add event listener DOM content loaded. And now whatever's in here will run when the DOM content is loaded. So let's go ahead and set a variable for our iframe. .map iframe. And then we need to set our observer options. These basically tell the intersection observer how to work with this particular element. So we'll do let observer options root. No, root is the root element that your element is relative to. If we put null, it's the whole viewport. Usually what you're going to want is null here. We'll put root margin 0 pixels. What the root margin is it's how far away from the top of this root element before the observer kicks in. So we'll just put 0 pixels here. In CSS, you don't have to put the px after 0, but here it's important that you do. It'll throw an error if you don't. And then we'll put the threshold. We'll give it 10%. So here 0.1 is 10%, 0.2 is 20%, 0.3 is 30%, and so on. Basically, these options say once this map is 10% visible on the page, we're going to perform this function. So now that we have that, we have to define our function that we're going to use once it's in the viewport. So we'll do function load map entries observer entries for each. And then inside there, we'll check if it's intersecting. So this is going to loop through all of the elements, check if it's being observed, and then if it's in the viewport. So entry.intersecting checks if it's intersecting the viewport. All right, so now it is in the viewport. We want to switch out the source for the data source for our iframe element. So we'll do set attribute source iframe.get attribute data source. Yep, that looks good. And we only want to perform this action once. Once it's loaded, we don't want to do anything else. So we can go ahead and unobserve here. So we'll do observer.unobserve entry.target. That looks good. Now we just need to tell our observer to observe the iframe and pass in the options and run this function. So we'll do let observer equals new intersection observer. We'll pass in our function here, load map, and then our options, observer options. And then we will observe the element. And that should be it, barring any JavaScript syntax errors. Let's go ahead and refresh our page here. Oh, cool, it worked. So you can see when we refreshed it, it scrolled down to where it was in the viewport. So I'll scroll up. And now when I scroll down, we should see it quickly load once it gets into the viewport. See? Doing it this way will allow your page to load faster because it's not loading elements that users haven't gotten to yet. It's a great trick to use for elements below the fold for page speed. If your elements are above the fold, you'll have to use a different trick, which is loading a placeholder and then loading them on interaction, like with the mouse movement, or load a thumbnail of your video and load the video when a user clicks the play button, stuff like that. But for elements above the fold, this works really well. And you can see there it loaded. If we scroll up and load back down or scroll back down, it stays loaded. I will post this code in the description of the video and or on my website so you can copy and paste and play with it. Like I said, this will work for other elements besides maps. It'll also work for videos and other third-party codes. Yeah, so that's it. I hope this video was helpful for you. If it was, we have lots more how-to videos coming up. So like this video, subscribe to my channel, and we'll see you in the next one.